get it listing ready and put it on the MLS. So at this point in time, we're nearing the end of the renovation and we need to have a final punch list. So no matter how great your contractor is, there's typically a few items left on the property. There might be a cracked tile, there might be plastic still in the appliances, there might be some nicks in the walls that need to be painted over. And so this final punch list are the last items the contractor needs to do to polish off the property and make it great. So we want to make sure we achieve this final punch list, we walk through with the contractor and complete everything. Now at that point, we have staging, and if the property's not clean enough here, I'll actually get cleaners. We need to make sure this property is ready to have buyers walk through it. Now staging, if the comps have staging. Staging is when we put furniture in the property so that when a buyer walks through it, they get the emotional feelings as if they're going to live there and can start seeing themselves in the main bedroom, start seeing themselves in the living room and in the kitchen. So if the comps have staging, then I recommend getting staging. This is typically an expense from the real estate agent. And then for doing staging, we want to have professional photos. And even if we're not doing staging, we need professional photos. So just make sure if you're doing staging, we do that first, right? Now, I want you to see the quality that I think your photos should look like when you're listing a brand new renovated property. So a website you can check out is ranchophotos.com. That's a company that I've been using for over a decade, and they make our houses pop when we put them up for sale on the MLS. So go to ranchophotos.com, check out these professional photos. Don't use an iPhone. Don't take these photos by yourself. We need professional photos on this property to make sure it sells for top dollar, right? Because we have a goal to achieve here. We want to sell this property at $545,000. That was our ARV. So we need to do everything in our power to make sure that we can sell it for $545,000. Now our listing agent that we're going to have sell the property, we need to make sure that they have the for sale sign in the front yard so that everyone and the neighbors know that this house is for sale. We need to make sure that they're putting this house on the MLS with a great description describing the property and also putting it on websites like realtor.com, Zillow.com, and Redfin. We need to make sure our agent is scheduling open houses. That's when they hold the house open, and open houses are when they allow buyers, potential buyers, to walk through the property. So a lot of the times they're held on the weekends, and we want as many open houses as possible to get as many eyeballs on this property. And I want my real estate agent to also door knock the neighborhood or distribute mailers and flyers to everyone, seeing if anyone in the neighborhood wants their friends or family to move right by them down the street. I want my real estate agent posting this property on social media. So maybe they have an active Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. I don't care. I want them marketing this property wherever they can. And if they're a good agent, they probably have an email list. I want them to send this property out and let everyone know on their email list that we got a new listing, a beautiful brand new renovated property. And lastly, I want our real estate agent to attend something called broker caravans. This is actually where real estate brokers and real estate agents hang out during the week or on the weekends, drive around to the new up and coming properties that are coming on the market so that all those agents can tell all of their buyers about this property coming up. We want as many eyeballs on the property as possible so that we can get the most amount of offers on this property, which allows us to negotiate and get the highest price possible. Now, a pro tip as a listing price strategy that I want to share with you is that we know we want the property to sell at $545,000, right? What I always like to do is list my property in a range, meaning it might be at $519,000 to $559,000. So right here, we have a $40,000 range. What this does is mask the price that I actually want to sell it at. What this does is allows us to get offers at a lower price range. It allows me to get more offers that I can then counter and have them bid against each other to get the highest price possible. This is a strategy I always like doing. Sometimes it allows me to get the top of the range, and sometimes it allows me just to hit my actual ARV that I need to hit. So it's masked in there, but this is a pro tip. Some MLSs allow you to do this and some don't. If you have the ability to do it, I recommend trying it out in order to get the most amount of offers on your property. So at this point, if we listed the property at the correct price, we've done a great renovation, it's matching the comps. Now at this point, we should start getting offers around the prices that we want. Now you have some decisions to make with the offers that you're getting. You can reject some offers, you can counter an offer, you can counter multiple offers, and you can accept an offer. Now I believe that just flat out rejecting offers is a newbie move. I never really reject offers. I'm always going to counter them regardless. Maybe they can come up. Maybe they just gave me a low offer, and if I counter them, they can come up in a price. I love offers. I believe that an offer is better than no offer. Now, if we price this correctly, this property, and it's in this range, we may have got multiple offers. And what's great, if we got that offer at 519 at the bottom of the range, we have 529, let's just say in this range, 525, maybe we got 540, and we know we want to hit 545K. Well, I can send a multiple counter offer to all of these potential buyers and these agents and say, hey, send your highest and best. We have multiple amount of offers. Now I can say, send me your highest and best. They could go to the top of the range, 559 that I submitted. Some people may choose to not come up at all, but let's just say our 545 offer says, hey, you know what? I'll come up to 545K. And let's say this is the best offer that we have. Now at this point, we can accept. So we did the negotiating here. We can negotiate, we can go back and forth, but if it's really listed well, if it's listed well, the renovation's done well, we've done everything we needed to do, great description, our agent's great marketing the property, we should be able to get the price that we want at 545 and accept this offer. And once we accept the offer, we can go the next step when we're that much closer to closing this fix and flip. Just like we did on the front end when we did our 7-day inspection period, a normal homeowner who's going to be offering on this property and getting a first-time home buyer loan or conventional loan, their typical inspection period, depending on how aggressive they are, can be anywhere from 10 to 17 days. We'll see that happen. And they're going to get a home inspector out to the property to, once again, make sure that everything was done up to code, up to snuff, and that nothing is out of the ordinary in the property. What they see is what they're actually getting. Now, the EMD is going to be due within 3 days. Remember, this is the earnest money deposit. We want to make sure that our buyer is putting that in. It's also called a good faith deposit, meaning that everything is going according to plans. This can raise red flags if they don't put the EMD in within a few days. But in this scenario, let's say they absolutely do put that in. We then have the inspection, and what's going to happen is they're going to get an appraisal. And an appraisal is when an appraiser comes out to the property to verify that the purchase price that they are offering is going to match up with the comps in the area. So remember, I taught you how to find comps. And our comps dictated the price we wanted to sell this at, our ARV, our after repair value. So the way that I taught you that comp criteria is actually how an appraiser values property. So now, if we've done everything correctly, we're not going to have an appraiser say, hey, this property is actually worth $500,000. We know it's worth $545,000 because we found the comps at 540, 545, and 550. So in the scenario where you don't know how to run your ARV, and even if you got an offer at a higher price, if the appraiser appraised it at $500,000, what that means is that the buyer would need to come up with an additional $45,000. That difference between what it was appraised at and then what we're selling the property at. So you don't want that to happen because that can absolutely blow up a deal. What happens then is you then have to put the property back on the market, and some people aren't willing to bring the difference to the table of what the property appraised at and what we're trying to sell it for. So because we work smarter, not harder, and I taught you how to analyze the property correctly, the appraisal should go well. And a pro tip that I want you to know is that attending the appraisal, you or your agent can actually help ensure that it gets appraised at 545. What I've done in the past is actually attend the appraisal and bring comps. Bring the comps that justify the value of the property. I bring the comps and I give them to the appraiser and I say, just in case you haven't seen these comps, I want to give them to you. And that just helps me feel better and allows me to have the highest likelihood that we're going to hit that appraisal number that we need on the property. Now, during this process, with the home inspector, what usually comes up, the home inspector will find a few items that maybe we miss on the punch list with the contractor, and the buyer will then put in a request for repairs. And the request for repairs can say something like, there's loose fixtures on the wall, there's loose lighting fixtures, or the cabinets aren't closing properly and you need to fix them. So we can then have our contractor go to the property and fix those items, or we can give the buyer a credit, such as $500 or $1,000 to fix those items themselves. So if it's a small fix, if we have a good relationship with our contractor, we can get them out there, have them do the fixes, or we can just pay a credit, whatever you decide at this point in time. I want to do whatever is going to make the buyer happy because I want to close this deal now. So if I can go out and fix the property and I can save some money instead of giving them a credit, I'm going to go ahead and do that. If it's a bigger fix and just giving them a credit is better because now I don't have to get my contractor out there and now it's not a headache because it was a bigger fix, I'll just give them $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is to fix that. So once the property appraises, once we do the request for repairs, once it passes the inspection, we're gonna do something called a final walkthrough. Typically a day or two before we close on the property, the buyer, the agent, everyone wants to make sure that the house hasn't burned down, that we're actually closing on a property, and what we agreed upon they're going to get. So we do the final walkthrough a day or two before closing. Now on the day of closing, once again, all the money is gonna be wired to escrow and title or the closing attorney, and all the respective parties are going to be paid. So the buyer will get a mortgage, and that bank will then bring the funds to escrow, title, the closing attorney. Then the real estate agent will be paid their commission. All the closing costs will be handled through the closing parties, the escrow, the title, the attorney. And additionally, remember our hard money lenders and private money lenders, they'll be paid back their principal plus their interest that they lent on the deal. At the end of the day, we'll get something called a HUD. It's the closing document that's going to have all the expenses and then our profit on the deal at the end of the day.
And that's how we flip houses with no money. Be on the lookout for the next video in this series. And if you want to build a hyper profitable wholesaling and flipping business, then check out my full in-depth training at realestateskills.com/watch. And I'll put the link in the description. I'll see you there, and happy flipping.